Hey there, it's Brian C. from NS Live TV, welcoming you to episode 22 of the Nova Scotiable Show. Now, with your help and input, we hope to make this a regular, possibly weekly show with a number of feature segments that include local businesses, sports, events, music, and much more. So, let's get into it. So many of you will be familiar with my first guest, Jonny Harris. He's one of Canada's top comedians and the host of CBC's Sill Standing show. And he also plays Constable Crabtree on the popular Murdock Mysteries series. Now, Jonny and the crew were here in Nova Scotia last summer when they filmed 2 episodes of Sill Standing, one in Middleton and the other in Oxford. Both episodes will be released soon on CBC Gem, and here's the link where you can find them. Now, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to have a brief interview with Jonny to talk about the show, his visit to Nova Scotia, and what's next for him. So please welcome to the show, Jonny Harris. So Jonny, nice to meet you. I see that you are still standing, and of course that's the name of the show you're doing with CBC right now, which is totally awesome. I love what you're doing. So kind of tell me how you get into this, how this show came about, and what's your fascination with all these small towns around the Nova Scotia and all across Canada?
Well, you know, the show, I would love, Brian, to say that it was my idea, but it was, I got a call, you know, CBC had the show in development with Frantic Films. And I think, you know, they were looking at a couple of different comedians as possible hosts for the show, myself included. But I remember, you know, my agent gave me a ring, and he said, they want to have a chat with you about this idea. We don't have a lot of details, but the synopsis of the show is, and then in a sentence or two, he just sort of explained it. And I said, I got to have that job. I really want that gig. And so, yeah, I went in and had a couple of interviews. And of course, I had done a few comedy festivals for CBC, and I think maybe, you know, coming from a small town in Newfoundland didn't hurt either, and I got the job, and I'm really glad I did, because yeah, here we are.
Was that a surprise? Were you really surprised?
I tell you, yeah, I was. I walked out of an interview at one point in a office at a production company in Toronto. And the guy had been talking to me in terms of, this was maybe my 3rd interview, and he's like, okay, well, you know, and you'll be doing this, and you'll be traveling to such and such places, and what we'll get you to do is, and it just sounded in sort of like finite terms. It wasn't like, you know, if you get the job, it was and I walked out, and I was walking down the sidewalk going, do I have a TV show? I think I have a TV show from that discussion. And yeah, here we are in you know, we've just finished season 7, 80 plus episodes in, and yeah, it's been great.
So what I like about the show is how you really bring out the features and locations through comedy. It's a really neat way you do that. So, is that all you, or do you have some help with the writing? Or?
No, there's a lot of help. Well, and it all starts with, you know, we've got a couple of researchers who are looking at communities across the country and sussing out, you know, trying to find towns that sort of fit the bill. We're looking for, you know, a survival story, a town that has faced economic struggles of whatever kind, and but have sort of, you know, are pulling together and, you know, showing some initiative, and many towns are reinventing themselves, and you know, people who are determined toward their community's survival, and then, you know, we've got production, we've got story producers who, you know, they're calling around people in the town saying, you know, who would be good to talk to. You know, we want to talk about the closure of the mine. Who could we interview about that? And all this stuff is sort of being sussed out. So it's a real team effort. And then there's a couple of guys who write the jokes with me, who come on the road. So, you know, we'll shoot a couple interviews during the day, then we'll go back to the hotel, and we sit down over the laptops and try to hash out a few jokes about, you know, the information that we've covered. And that's probably the biggest part of it. It's like honing in on the information. We hear so many great stories, and there's a lot to focus on, and to try to narrow it down into, what will ultimately end up as 22 minutes of airtime. And, sadly, even a lot of the stuff that we do stick with and feature during the live show does get or shoot in the community ends up on the editing room floor. But it's definitely a team process.
It's all about the editing to make the whole thing congeal. They're doing a great job. I love the show myself. I've watched a number of episodes, and hopefully we'll see you around this area. If you're ever down towards the Peggy's Cove area, let me know, because I'd be glad to take you around.
I tell you, Peggy's Cove is like everybody I ever see ever post a picture on social media. If they're in Nova Scotia, I feel like people must get off the plane and like beeline for Peggy's Cove and get their picture and post their Peggy's Cove picture. They always look great. But yeah, we'd love to get out that way.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know about getting off the planes and heading to Peggy's Cove, but I certainly know that tourist ships, when they get off the cruise ships, they head right there. There's buses and bus loads that bring them out. So,
I bet.
Excellent. So, what's next stop for you?
Well, I don't know. See that season 7 that's airing now, and season 8 we'll find out. We'll find out soon. I think whether we'll get the green light from CBC for season 8. I'm fairly sure we will, and I'm a pretty cautious guy, but I'd be surprised if we didn't. And then hopefully, I'd like to. It's been a little while since we've been to Newfoundland. I'd like to get back there. But we did do a couple of great episodes in Nova Scotia for season 7 that will air over the next couple of months. We got to Middleton in the Annapolis Valley and Oxford, just south of Amherst. And both of those shoots went really well. I think they're going to be good episodes.
Well, hey, I'm a Newfoundlander, down the road myself, so maybe I'll catch you over there sometime. I need to head back home at some point too.
Well, you're lucky you're not too far. I mean, I guess it's a plane ticket for either one of us, but yeah.
A plane ticket or a long drive for me, one of the two.
Yeah, and then you got to get on the ferry and.
Well, hey, listen, I appreciate you coming on NS Live TV and talking about the show, and hopefully all goes well. Good luck on the new season, and hopefully things will go through with that. And listen, I appreciate talking to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Now, our next guest is well known for airlines and music, and really a bad combination of the two. Please welcome our next guest, Dave Carroll. All right. Well, Dave, listen, thanks for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk to me and tell the viewers what's happening with you, because I've discovered something new about you that I didn't realize. I knew you were an author before, but you've even increased that. You've come up with a new book, and that's probably the main thing we're going to talk about here today, and that's called Tom the Tomato Plant. So we'll get into that. So tell us about Tom the Tomato Plant. What's that book about, and who's it for, and all those good things? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so it's a pleasure to be on the show. Thanks for having me on. And Tom the Tomato Plant, I happen to have a copy right here, is a children's book. And I've got 2 sons. My boys now are 13 and 9, going to be 10. And this story is probably 3 years old. So I would lay in bed with the boys at night and riff stories off the top of my head. And kids are brutally honest, of course. And so most of the time they'd say, "Dad, that story sucks." But this one time I told a story about this tomato plant named Tom that I riffed. And my youngest son said, "Dad, that's actually a pretty good story." And so I worked on it and wrote it up and edited it, and had a friend named Paul Tuffanello out in BC, who's a children's author, and he gave me some advice and took an interest. So we ended up just sort of, he guided me through it, and I went through the process, and now I have a children's book. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Well, that's great. I look forward to seeing it myself. My son just turned 26, and I can't help but thinking, like, when did that happen? Like 26.
Yeah.
So they grow up so fast. And They are brutal critics, so you're right about that. So you've taken it to the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, like, when the book comes out, where can people see it and buy it and get it? That type of thing.
So, Tom the Tomato Plant is a hardcover book right now, and the only way to get the hardcover is going to be through me or my website or select places. Here in Halifax, there's a place called the Vegetorium in Waverley where I live, and it's actually it's drawn in to the book, so that Tom gets his start at the Vegetorium. But it's also going to be at Woozles, and the Halifax Library is getting behind it. We're going to do an official launch on Sunday, February 13th at 2 p.m. And because COVID is spoiling almost everybody's intentions to have in-person events, it's staying consistent, and so it's going to be a Zoom launch. It was going to be a nice in-person launch, but Sunday the 13th at 2 on Zoom, and the link will be on my website, davecarrollmusic.com. And we invite anyone in the world who wants to get a sneak peek at Tom and learn how they can get it and learn more about the story then.
Excellent. Yeah, I look forward to that. Hopefully I can attend that launch and maybe even share it or something. And if the website is davecarrollmusic.com, as you mentioned, I suggest everybody check that out because it's very creative. It's an unusual website and I really like it. So good job on that.
Yeah.
Of course, going back a few years, I'm a Sons of Maxwell's fan. Like, are you gigging at all now? I know things have kind of shut down for musicians, but how are you doing music-wise?
I can only speak for myself, but I think COVID's been pretty stifling for live performance things. Everything I do, whether it's speaking or performing or requires an audience typically. And so I haven't been gigging a lot, but I have been at times. So when we sort of came out of the lockdowns last May or June, that had been the first gig I had played in quite a while. And to tell you the truth, it felt like work a little bit at first until we got like 3 or 4 songs into it. And it's performing is an art and it's practice. You got to keep it up and you got to keep doing it or you lose the comfort zone anyway. So fortunately, it didn't take too long to get it back, but it was amazing. And 30 years, I'd never gone that long without performing. And I realized firsthand, it is something that you got to keep up and keep at.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it definitely is. Yeah. Well, hopefully things will change around and things will open up and we'll definitely have some more events. I haven't been out to cover too many events because there aren't too many events to get out and cover. So,
well, they are too. And there's, I had a few shows that were canceled because of, spikes in COVID or whatnot. But I think we are coming out of it and it's nice the bookings are starting to come in. Theater shows are happening and nice to see the theaters opening again because they've been bleeding money, I think, for the last 2 years. So it'd be nice to see people coming out and supporting live entertainment. And I think we'll all be rewarded when we get back together.
Oh, we certainly will. I can't wait. Can't wait till this is all just a distant memory. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to mention?
The CD that I launched in September is called Until One Day. And my first recording since 2013, and one of the songs on this became the theme song for Tom in the back. And so the sheet music is there with the QR code that you can access this song, which becomes the theme song and impacts the book.
Well, that's neat. I like that. So you scan the QR code, and what does that do? Like, does that bring up an app?
To that one particular song called "The Giant" because it aligns with the message, and it takes you right to YouTube and just the audio, and you can hear the song, and hopefully anchor that to the message in the book and cross promote the CD at the same time.
Well, that is fantastic. You're so creative. I love all that. Never would have thought of putting a QR code for the music and in the lyrics and everything in the book. That's such a great idea.
I found I've listened to a lot of people in the speaking side of things in the last 10 years. I've met a lot of interesting people and I've discovered with storytelling, the more senses that you can activate in a story, the more compelling it becomes. So if you can touch it in a book, and if you can hear a song and the song moves you emotionally, and you can see and do things with it. So with Tom the Tomato Plant comes with a bookmark on the back is seed paper in the shape of a tomato. So you can take the tomato seed paper, plant it, and then you can grow and nurture these tomatoes the same way Tom in the book is supported and nurtured. And that activates a whole bunch of senses. So my hope is that people will not see this book as just another book among thousands of books. They'll get to know the character, love the message about compassion in it, and want to share it with the world.
Wow. At every turn, I'm more impressed. That is such a great idea. So there's tactile, there's senses, there's music. Although you've covered it all with that book.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, now, did you come up with all that on your own?
I did, but that's it for my ideas. So those are my 5 ideas. I'm all out of ideas now.
I need you on my creative team.
Yeah, it's fun. I like the idea of, I've planted my flag in storytelling in the last several years, and that's what I consider myself as. And to do that, you got to be creative and find a way to engage it, because we've never been more overwhelmed with stories and videos and attention grabbers, right? So
because you are a public speaker now, so like when you go and speak in public, what do you talk about? Is it your book, your music, or yourself? Like what are the topics you use when you're public speaking?
No, typically I'm always engaged because of the United Breaks Guitars story, because it went so far and wide and had such a big impact at a time when social media was just getting started. I got hired to do those talks about that, but while I'm on the stage with that platform, I introduced the idea of compassionate design, being more compassionate, sort of appreciating your own value, looking and being curious about the people you meet and appreciate they have a special value. And then thirdly, looking at ways of recognizing yourself in other people, because if we have more in common and we don't, and you love and respect yourself, you will find that in somebody else. And that's a great basis to start a relationship with somebody on. And that's what I try to leave people with in my talks. So the United Breaks Guitars opens the door, and then compassionate design and storytelling are the insights I like to leave people with.
Wow. Yeah. Excellent. Well, I love the message too. So it's one big awesome package with Dave Carroll when he's involved with something you're doing.
Thanks a lot, Brian. I appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure. No, thanks for coming on the show. And like I said, everybody check out davecarrollmusic.com, because most of everything is right on there. All right. Have a great day, Dave.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Oh my gosh, look, Dave is super creative and such a delight to talk to. Don't forget to check out davecarrollmusic.com. I seriously urge you to do that and see more about what this creative follows up to. And besides, it's such a cool site. It's really creative. I love it. Well, anyhow, that's our show for today. As always, like, share, and follow to help us reach more viewers, which helps us produce more community TV content for you. Message or email me if you'd like to be on the show, or if you know of someone else you'd like to see on the show, or basically anything else you'd like to see on NS Live TV. I'd be happy to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned to the NS Live TV website for more information about your community channel. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.